Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and having a fantastic week. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how you can bathe your bird. Now, Chip and Fish here have had a little spray bottle wash this morning, so they're a little bit wet, so they're going to be drying off whilst we film this video. I'm also going to be talking about the different ways you can bathe your bird, because there are some different techniques that different birds prefer. I'm going to be talking about things you should not do when you are bathing your bird, because there are some really dangerous things you can do. And also I'm going to show you a little training session of me getting Olive used to the spray bottle. So if you wanted to try and train your birds to accept baths, because not every bird is going to enjoy them, then you can take these techniques and train your own bird. Now, offering your bird a bath is super important because it's beneficial for all over their body. It's great for their skin, keeping their skin nice and moisturised. It's great for their feathers as well, because their feathers need to be kept in great condition, which you see she's showing off here. And especially for powdery down birds like cockatiels, it's great for getting rid of some of that dust and dander from them. It's also really good for their respiratory system as well, to kind of be in that steamy, humid environment, because parrots naturally mostly come from humid environments, and that is really great for their respiratory system. Now, some birds, like the stinky brothers here, prefer to bathe usually once, maybe twice a week. Some birds, like my conures, love to bathe every single day. They're real water babies. So it really depends on your individual bird, but as long as you're giving them the opportunity to bathe, training them to bathe, giving them the right types that they prefer, then that's going to be really brilliant for them, and they're going to have a great time splashing around. Now, my birds only prefer to bathe in a certain way, so I couldn't get all the clips myself on camera of them trying out different techniques. Come here, Chibi. So I have some very lovely Instagram followers, and I actually reached out on my stories to see if anyone had any clips they wouldn't mind me using, and I had so many people send me clips, and I've tried to use as many as I can in this video, but I'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone who took the time to send me videos. I really appreciate it. And if you don't follow me on Instagram already, I'm just at BirdNerdSophie. It'd be lovely to have you over there, because I post lots of cute photos and videos of my birds who are really noisy, and also some like educational content as well. So it's really great fun, and it would be awesome to have you there. But without further ado, let's get into the different techniques for bathing your parrots. The first technique is using a spray bottle. It's something that my birds, particularly my cockatiels, love. Macaws love it as well, and it's really great because it's kind of a bonding experience as well, because you're spraying your birds and they're having a really brilliant time. It's really important to make sure you're using a fine mist rather than a really direct spray, because that's not going to be very comfortable. And also I recommend using cool water, not really hot water and not really cold water. Just kind of room temperature water seems to be what most birds really enjoy. Also, make sure you are cleaning your spray bottles regularly, because quite often there can be some bacteria build up within the nozzle itself. Make sure you clear it of water when you're finished with it, just to make sure that you aren't getting that kind of bacteria build up in there. Another bathing technique that loads of parrots love, especially my conures, is bathing underneath the kitchen tap. It's really great fun. They love crawling all under it. I sometimes, well, for some birds, they'll just sit on my hand or in my cupped hands and splash around. Olive prefers to have a little bowl that she kind of splashes around in underneath the tap. And again, it's important not to have the tap on really full on. Just have it on a bit of a trickle, and then it's not too extreme for them. Again, all the while using quite cool water, not really hot, not freezing cold either. Some birds will also like to kind of pitter-patter around in the bottom of the sink, so kind of common sense, but just make sure your sink is clean if you're allowing your bird to kind of crawl around in there, and that there's nothing that they could pick up and potentially consume that would be dangerous for them. Now, many birds will just enjoy a simple bowl of water, a nice shallow bowl. You don't want it too deep, something that they can just get in and out of easily and just splish and splash around. The boys liked that when they were little, and they're not so keen on it anymore. But it's a really great way of allowing your bird to bathe on their own terms, because sometimes they just want to do it when they feel like it. Some birds will also bathe in their water bowls as well, so make sure you're checking that throughout the day to make sure that it's not full of kind of feathers and dander and all kinds of things like that, and you give it a nice refresh if they do happen to bathe in there. leading on from this, a lot of birds, especially budgies, really like to bathe in wet greens, whether that's wet greens within a shallow bowl of water or just greens that have been sprayed with a spray bottle and hung up in their cage. Because naturally in the wild, a lot of birds would kind of rub up against wet vegetation, and that'd be a great way of keeping their feathers in great condition. So if you can provide that under human care, then that's a really great way of simulating a natural behaviour, and it's really cute to watch as well. A kind of parrot craze that started last year in 2020 was getting these kind of kitchen sinks for your birds. So it kind of ties into allowing them to bathe under a tap, but it's kind of a toy as well. And I think this is really fun. I may even get one for the birds, and if I do, of course, I will make a video seeing what they think about it. One thing to remember with this though is just to make sure that you're cleaning it regularly so there's not a bacteria build up in any of the kind of components. And also sometimes they don't last very long. You need to get one with good reviews. That's something I've seen as well, and something that's kind of putting me off getting one, but I think I probably will anyway. If your bird is really against bathing, what you can do to kind of introduce them to a humid environment is to run the shower in your bathroom, no products around or anything, just run the shower really, really hot until your whole bathroom is completely steamy. Turn the shower off and then take your bird into the bathroom. That can either be on your hand if they're comfortable, or in like a travel cage or something. And this is a way of exposing them to a really humid environment, which is really beneficial for their respiratory system, but it's also a really great way of keeping that skin moisturized and the feathers exposed to that kind of humid environment as well. And the last most common way that you can bathe your bird is by taking them into the shower. Now you can get shower perches that kind of suction onto the side of the shower, and it's really good for big birds. I personally wouldn't recommend taking small, sometimes even small to medium birds in there, and I'm going to talk about that in the next section. But of course, if you are taking your bird into the shower, make sure it's not too hot, because I like my showers scalding hot, which obviously wouldn't be good for birds, and make sure they're not directly under the shower stream. So now we've spoken about some of the ways that you can bathe your bird, I wanted to talk about some of the don'ts, some of the things you really should not do if you are looking to bathe your bird, because there are some things that can go wrong and you can put your bird in harm's way. Now the first don't is please don't force your bird to bathe. I've seen some horror stories with this, people forcing their birds, and it's not nice, it's not fair, and you are going to be taking away trust and bonding from you and your bird. So if your bird isn't interested, that's fine. Think about maybe offering it another day in another way, different time of day, and maybe even training it, as I'm going to show you later on in the video. The next don't is if you are bathing your bird, please do not use a hairdryer on them to dry them off afterwards. Your bird should be dry naturally, so make sure your home is nice and warm so they can just dry off naturally. And you don't want to be using a hairdryer on your bird because one, many of them actually contain Teflon, which of course is very toxic to birds, and you don't want to be using that around them. And two, it can really dry out their skin and feathers. They are perfectly adapted to drying off naturally, you just don't want them to be getting really wet and then being in a really cold environment. So make sure it's a decent room temperature, and just give them the opportunity to dry off. Some people will give their birds kind of towels, wrap them up, that kind of thing. Wouldn't necessarily recommend it because some birds really don't like it. If you know that your bird enjoys being wrapped up in a little towel and kind of having a little cuddle, that's okay. Just make sure it's not triggering hormonal behaviour. But you could do that if you wanted to, if you know that your bird likes it. Don't do it if your bird is struggling or uncomfortable or just kind of sitting there really still, because those are all signs that your bird is not very happy with the situation. Now another don't is please don't put your birds in deep water where it's, you know, up to their beaks. That's really not good for them. You kind of want it to be maybe like halfway up their legs if you're offering them like a bowl of water, because, you know, it's really uncomfortable for them. It's not safe. There is always risks when you provide deep water to any animal, so just be really mindful about how much water you're providing. It may look funny, you know, I've seen all these videos on TikTok of birds in really deep water. It looks like they're kind of floating around. It's not funny, it's not comfortable for them. Please don't do it. Another don't is please don't use shampoos or any kind of products all over your birds. They don't need it. They have a natural oil. They've got a gland just at the base of their tail, which they use to keep their feathers in good nick. And of course, powdery down birds like cockatiels and cockatoos have that lovely dander and dust, which keeps their feathers in great condition. Unless you've been prescribed something by a vet, please do not buy any of these sprays, shampoos. I've talked about them in various other videos. Your birds don't need them. It's not going to be good for their feathers. If you wanted to potentially spray something more natural on them, you can actually brew up certain avian teas. For example, Polly's Natural Parrot Boutique. What is going on? Shit. Just flying around all over the place. Sorry, Polly's Natural Parrot Boutique in the UK. She has a tea called Eternal Feathers, and this can be brewed, left to cool, and sprayed on your bird's feathers, and it's really calming for their skin, and that is okay. It's all natural, it's all made out of flowers and herbs. You don't want to be spraying anything else like that, anything synthetic, anything that's kind of sold as like a feather plume miracle cure, anything like that. It's not going to be good for your bird, so please avoid those at all costs. And the last point I wanted to make under the don'ts is please don't put your birds directly under the shower stream. I have seen so many videos of this, even from really responsible bird owners who pop their birds directly under the shower stream, and they're just sitting there really skinny with their head up in the air, and they're not showing any kind of bathing responses, which indicates that they are not enjoying the experience. If your bird is bathing, they are going to have their feathers out, they're going to be ruffled up, they're going to be moving around, wings out, and they are going to be looking like they're bathing. If they are just sat there, they are not bathing, they are not having a good time, I can assure you. Now, if you want to train your bird to enjoy, for example, spray bottle bathing, which I'm going to show you our session with Olive in a second, that's absolutely possible. You want to be reinforcing that bathing response. You want to be reinforcing ruffled feathers and any kind of wing movements, any feather movements, anything that looks like they are having an experience with the water that's not just sitting there really straight and unhappy. So in order to do this, what you want to do is have your bird on your training stand, and you want to spray them from a distance. You don't want to spray them right in their face. You can also get them used to the spray bottle, just reinforce for them interacting with it and being calm around it. Spray them from a distance, see how they react. If they stay completely still, you can actually give them some reinforcement for being calm. Then you can spray them again from a distance and reinforce for being calm again. And at this point, there's going to be some water build-up on those feathers, and there's going to come a point where your bird is going to do a really big shake, ruffle up those feathers, and at that point, that's when you want to be reinforced. You want to have your clicker ready, or whatever bridging stimulus you're using. If you're not familiar with clicker training, I've got a video on it, I'll leave a card for it now. So you want to click and reinforce when you see any kind of ruffling up of the feathers. If your bird brings its wings out at all, click and reinforce. If your bird looks like it's having a good time because it's putting his wings all the way out and ruffling up the feathers again, moving around, that's when you want to click and reinforce, and keep doing it over and over. Of course, you want all training sessions to be no more than 10 minutes, although I think 5 minutes is usually the best amount of time. And you can offer these sessions regularly. Obviously, if your bird isn't showing any kind of bathing response, maybe try again another day. Always try and end on a positive. So if you get a really good bathing response or a big shake, stop it there, and then your bird is going to remember, I got reinforcement when I showed a bathing response when I was having water on me. And then over time, your bird is going to learn that bathing is actually a really good thing. So I'm going to show you a couple of clips of our sessions. We haven't completely got the behaviour on camera, but I wanted to give you an example of some of the behaviours you're looking out for when you are trying to train your bird to bathe. Not giving a really response. That's it. And just shake. There we go. Good girl. Well done. Good girl. So that brings me to the end of the video. I hope you found it useful learning about some of the different techniques that you can use to offer bathing to your bird and to try and train bathing with your bird as well. Let me know down in the comments which method of bathing your bird prefers, because I'll be really interested to find out. So let me know their species and what they like. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic week. Take care and see you later.